So among the complexity of dealing with the European Commission request, we had in 2023 also the need to comply with new requirements that the European Union approved via Regulation 2022-2480. So it was published in December 2022, is applicable as of 9 July 2023, amending Regulation 1025-2012. I would like to know who has had a chance to participate live or has listened to the recordings of the webinar that have been given in June 2023 on this Regulation 2480. So I see two people here, only three. Maybe there are other shy TBOs. You don't dare? It's no questions in any case. It's not an interrogation, so you can raise your hand. Okay, only three. So for most of you, this is new, but I hope that you catch up with this information, because this can be relevant for your work and your role as a TBOs. Of course, for those technical committees dealing with standards requested in a standards request or in a valid mandate. So basically, now the two piece of legislation that under the umbrella of which European standardization is framed are Regulation 1025, which is still valid, because only Article 10, a new paragraph 2 has been added. So we will make reference from July on to Regulation 1025 as amended by Regulation 2480. So 2480 do not replace Regulation 1025. Or we can say the amended Regulation 1025. So what is the only modification that is present? Basically, Regulation 2480 is very short, and it reads that one paragraph is added under Article 10. Article 10 is how the ISOs and the Commission cooperate, and it contains many paragraphs. Paragraph 1 is about the standardization request. So the standard requests are issued under 10.1 of 1025. Paragraph 5 is the one of the assessment. Article 10, paragraph 6 is the article for citation. So these are the main articles of Regulation 1025. The new article impact only Article 10.1 on standardization request. It reads that without prejudice to other advisory opinions, each European standardization organization, so us, shall ensure that the following decisions concerning European standards and European standardization deliverables refer to in paragraph 1, which means standards and other deliverables requested in a standardization request. So this is exactly the boundary of this new article. So these decisions are taken exclusively by representatives of the national standardization bodies within the competent decision-making body of that organization. So what are these decisions? Are on the acceptance and refusal of standardization request, decisions and the acceptance of new work items that are needed for the fulfillment of the standardization request, and decisions the adoption, revision, and withdrawal of European standards or European standards deliverables, of course, again, that are requested in a standardization request. If you have the chance to Google the presentation of the Commissioner Breton, so this regulation has been presented by the Commissioner Breton, Thierry Breton. It is impressive how emphasis he puts on this measure. This measure that should ensure that all decisions that Sen and Senelec and ETSI, because in reality the main target for this regulation was ETSI, as declared in his when presenting this regulation. So the aim is to ensure that decisions that relate to standards requests are done with the green light of the representatives of the national standardization bodies. Within Regulation 1025, the national standardization bodies, the NSBs, are those national bodies notified by the members of the European Union. So what does it mean? It means that standards requests and all mandated work, so all deliverables that are requested in the different stages, so new work item approval, adoption means approval, revision, and withdrawal, have to be taken by the members of the European Economic Area. So, which means the 27 of the European Union plus Iceland and Norway. Please.
For me, it sounds like that you decide on a standardization request what kind of projects you will support, but you need to still follow the rules, or having a new work item proposal that needs to be adopted by the members, which may be in contradiction to what is requested here. Because at the end, you need to have an adoption by the members and not by the regulation. Finally, or isn't that the way?
No, well, here there are different steps, and these cover all these steps. So basically, the regulations say every time that we receive a standardization request from the Commission, you know that in our system are the Sen and Senelec technical boards taking a decision on behalf of Sen and Senelec whether to accept or not. Yeah, so then that standardization request is accepted or not, it depends what is the decision, and should be accepted with the votes of the blue type members, of the members of the European Economic Areas. The meaning of NSBs, according to Regulation 25, is members of the European Economic Area. So it's the blue type members for us. In that standard request, you have the reference in Annex 1. Normally now you have a lot of work items, and we have to approve one by one the work item. So each work item is approved by the relevant technical committee. In that technical committee, the counting of the blue type members' votes should give a positive vote. Otherwise, they're not approved. Or the other way around. If that work item is not approved because of the vote of the non-blue type members, then only the votes of the blue type members must be considered. And the same when we go to inquiry informal vote, which is what they refer the Commission when they, at paragraph B, C, decisions on the adoption of European standards and other standard deliverables, so it applies also to TS and TR. At inquiry informal vote, the counting must take place, basically a double counting must take place with the votes of all members and the blue type members.
So what happens when the work items listed in the standardization request gets not approved?
Now we will see it. Now we will see it. Okay, so this is in a nutshell, this is what the regulation 2480 means that the blue type members of SEN and SENELEC have the final say when approving standard request standards and other deliverables that are mentioned in the standard request. Now I have a question for you. How many types of members we have in SEN SENELEC? So how many? Wait, then okay. What is exactly 27? Because then now you have to clarify. What is 27? But please, you use the mic.
National bodies. Yeah.
We have more. 33, almost. 32, no. How many? 34. So we have 34 national members, NSB. So we call national standard bodies in SEN, national committees in SENELEC. I think in ETSI they're called the National Standards Organization, NSOs, in ETSI. In 1025, the Commission called them NSBs, National Standards Bodies. Let's say using a bit the SEN way. So we have 34 members. Now, how many types of membership we have? Who is brave enough to take the micro and list all of them, explaining it? Yesterday, most of you were.
It's a test.
Ah, okay. So who wants to explain the three types? Come on. I see that and then let's define the red then. Who are the reds? No, the red. Those are the blue. The blue time members are NSBs of the countries of the European Economic Area. So we have 29 blue. Now we need a paper and pen to make the addition. 29, which is 27 of the EU plus Iceland and Norway. So 29 are the blue type members. Then we have only one yellow, because it's the unfortunate case of a country supposed to access or to remain in the European Union, but they left. So that's why we have a specific typology only for UK. And then we have 4 members, 29 plus UK 30. We have 4 members that are red, which are candidate members of the, exactly. The definition is on IR 1, Internal Regulation Part 1. And so the 4 members are, who wants to help me? Turkey. 3 more. One is very small. Not yet. Republic of North Macedonia. 2. One is easy. It's between Italy, so it's Switzerland, number 3. And the other one, the 4th one, is Serbia. Okay. So these are the 4 reds, 1 yellow, and 29 blue. So how we address this specific provision that Switzerland is red. Serbia. So this kind of provision could have been disrupting because we are a private association, so any member pay a fee. and Switzerland and the UK, of course, they pay fee like the others. And this regulation 2480, amending regulation 1025, imposed that basically final decision on topics related to European legislation have to be taken by only the blue tie members. So the discussion in BT working group rules and process have been quite intense, but I can say that members find unanimity in deciding the way forward. So what was decided? That all members, all 34 members, should vote in any case. So on standard request, all members will continue to vote. Same for the approval of EN, work items that are supposed to develop harmonized standards, and also the withdrawal of mandated standard. But we will have two counting of votes, one with the outcome of the voting counting all members, and one considering only the votes of the blue tie members. In case of discrepancy, the final decision will be taken by the blue type members after discussion in the technical boards. So this is the way this has been tackled. This has triggered the need to revise, to completely change Article 6 of Regulation 10 of Sensenelec Internal Regulation Part 2 on the voting policy, and also there was another BT decision to complement the revision of IR2 in order to establish some operational elements that have to be taken into account when there is discrepancy between the counties. So basically, the 2022 edition of IR2 had one single voting policy clause, and in particular, clause 6.1 was both for mandated and non-mandated work. And now the 2023 IR2 has a split clause 6 in clause 6.2 concern decisions on non-mandated work, clause 6.4 decisions on mandated work. Also, the definition of mandated work that let's say that at BT level we are quite familiar with this wording, but now it has been codified as a specific definition in IR2. So what is mandated work? Is the technical work requested under a standardization request or under a mandate? You know, that are still old but valid mandate. So we offer even harmonized standards under old mandate. And so the concept of mandated work means all what we do to fulfill a standard request or a mandate. Now, since the criteria for the approval are in either clause 6.2 non-mandated work or clause 6.4 for mandated work, you understand that it is very, very important that when you start a new work, so there is a new work item, so the approval of a new work item, it is very, very important that it is correctly identified in the database. Because of course, if in the database, a work item, so imagine we receive a standards request where there are 11 standards to be developed, and therefore you are requested to vote via CIB in SEN for the approval of a new work item, or still in Senelec we have the Senelec BT final approval for a work item, so hopefully in February 2024 we will go for a delegated system also in Senelec, or for JTC, you have a Senelec technical board's approval. You understand it is very important to understand whether you should apply the clause 6.2 on non-mandated work or 6.4 on mandated work. So ensure that since the beginning, when the item is created in the database, and you can see it on Projects Online, there is a new tab on legislation that should contain any relevant information for the relationship between that work item and legislation. Then you have all the tools to follow these. And here there is the hyperlink to the training that was given to present you the novelty in Projects Online of this specific tab of legislation. But you have here also Frédéric Mlanau, my colleagues, is the head of the team, Harmonized Standards Compliance team. So you can, if you have any question during lunchtime, you can go to him and complain or congratulate. I don't know. Thank you. Depends. Okay, so what is basically the main change is that there would be a systematic double counting. Now, I make an example. Let's imagine that a work item was marked as non-mandated in the database. Then you go for the approval of the new work item with the rules of 6.2, non-mandated, and then you discover it was mandated. As a safety net, in all voting results, both for CIB at new work item level, but also when voting on the EN at inquiry informal vote or voting on the TS at final vote, same for TR, you will always find the outcome of the double counting. You see here on the screen. So this is the case in the screen where the first weighted vote failed. Then the second vote takes place, but let's imagine that also if the first vote would have succeeded, you would have found in any case the outcome of the second voting with the members only. So this is the same way, this is the Senelec way. So you will always, from the 9 July 23, you will always find in the voting results the two counts, the outcomes of the two counts. You will find also new terms. For non-mandated work, you will have approved by national members, disapproved by national members, approved by blue type members, because I guess that you are aware that regardless of the new regulation 1025, there was already a rule in internal regulation part 2 saying that only when voting via weighted vote, only for weighted vote. Internal, the previous edition already read that if the first counting with all members fail, a second counting with the blue time members only will take place. Now, this concept has been extended, and there is a case that was not present in the previous internal regulation part 2. For mandated work, you can have approved by national members, so there is a voting, everything goes smooth. Disapproved by national members, approved by blue time members only, so it's the case of weighted vote, where without votes wasn't approved. Then with the second counting is approved, blue time members. And then we have a pending. Pending is the only outcome for which an action is requested by your side. So anytime you see pending, a bell must ring, and something is expected from you as TBU. Because pending is when there is a discrepancy between the vote of blue time members and the other members. For weighted vote, this discrepancy is only when all members would have approved the standard, for instance. But the second counts on blue time members show you that it's not approved. And until last year, the second counting would not have taken place. So if NEN was approved with a vote, with the first counting, with the first vote, with all members, you don't even count the blue time members' vote. Now, the novelty is that for mandated work, you need always to show the two counting, and if all approves, but the blue time members would not approve, then is pending. Pending means that there is no decision, and the item goes to the technical board that will have a discussion, possibly with the agreement of all members, and because we always seek for consensus and unanimity at BT level, if not possible, with the votes of the members of the blue time members at technical boards level. And therefore, that's why then you have E and F. You will find approved by the BT decision or disapproved by the decision. So these two new cases are the new cases that comes after a pending. And now we go in detail. Well, first of all, I would like to, because this is quite complicated and it has been complex, and today I will cover only decisions that relate to technical committees. I will not cover the BT decisions, because also the BT decisions are strongly impacted by this new way of deciding. But this is for these seminars for you as technical body officers, so I will focus on the approval of mandated deliverables and mandated work items. So the first information I want to give is that from 9 July to today, touching the hood, we did not have any pending case. So everything was smooth. Pending case is unfortunately is the outcome of a decision that would require action from your side, and now I will show you exactly what to do. So here we need to make a difference between so now we cover how the new regulation impacted the approval of the mandated deliverables, which means EN, TS, and Senelec harmonization documents that are either included in a standard request or still are offered under a mandate. So it's mandated work. And we start with EN, TS, and Senelec HD because all are approved by weighted vote. So what are the scenarios we can have? So you will always in the voting result, in the voting report, you will find the result of the two counts, but in particular you will find what is the final outcome. So you as TBOs, you don't have to interpret the two results. So it's very simple for you. It was difficult for our colleagues at E-level that they had to change the voting report with an algorithm making the case for all type, blue type, and what should happen. But you will see always the final outcome, so you don't need to interpret. So scenario one is when the first counting with all members, the result is approved, blue time is approved, so perfect, green light, nothing to do. You will find approved. Scenario number two is all members that don't approve, blue time members approve, then is approved, like in the previous edition of IR2, as I said, in the previous edition of IR2, regardless of the new regulation. The second counts with the blue type members only take place when the first voting with all members failed, and then it is approved. And as a consequence, in terms of who is bound to implement the EN at a national level. Then scenario number 3 is the pending scenario. So the vote with all members show an approval, gives an approval of the EN. But counting the blue type members only, this would not be approved, then it's pending. We need a BT meeting, resolution meeting, and possibly by consensus. If not possible the consensus, then we will go with a voting of blue type members only at BT level. If the standard is approved, then all members will have to approve, will have to implement, because the first result with all members was positive. If the blue type decide not to approve, because actually we go to pending because blue type say no, then there is no standard, basically. And so no one has to approve. Then scenario 4, okay, it's easy. So both do not approve the standards, then the standards is disapproved. Now, this is the voting report, and this is for Senelec. With this disclaimer, it's clearly written that this voting result is based on AR2 clause 6.4. So you can, from this disclaimer, you can understand that the criteria of clause 6.4, so the criteria for mandated work, so this work item has been voted as being a mandated work. And here you have the result, acceptance, rejection, and here you have the 2 outcomes. All members would have approved, blue type members would have not approved. So since it is weighted vote, because it's the approval of EN, all members yes, blue type members no, is pending. And the outcome is down there. So far, in the first 4 months, we had no pending. Here is the example, again, Senelec. So this is the voting result. This is a parallel vote on CDV for a ENIC. Again, the disclaimer will make you understand that clause 6.4, so the clause for mandated work, has been applied. All members do not approve, blue type members is approved, therefore the standard is approved. Approved by blue type members. Who has to implement an EN that is approved with a vote of the blue type members? This is clearly specified in Internal Regulation Part 2. 6.3 and 6.5 specify who has to implement, and this is to be implemented by the blue type members, so all blue type members, and also those non-blue type members who voted in favor for this standard. So in the example, we can see that Switzerland voted against, Great Britain voted against, TR, who's TR? Turkey voted against. So 3 non-blue type members voted against. That's why it failed considering all members, but considering only the blue type members, this was approved. So which means that this EN cannot be implemented by Switzerland, UK, and Turkey, must be implemented by Serbia and Republica of North Macedonia. So to be implemented by blue type members and non-blue type non-blue type who voted in favor. Now we go to SEN. You see, you have the same disclaimer. From the disclaimer, you understand that the kind of voting. Yes.
One slide. It says there to be implemented by blue type members and non-blue type who voted positively. But you said Serbia and that, but they're not in the acceptance column. So how can you, they're not down as voting positive, but you're saying that they have to accept it.
Right, good spot. Yes, exactly. Yes, since they are not in the acceptance, they abstain, basically. Also, those who voted negatively, so Switzerland, UK, and Turkey, they can decide to implement in case they end. So they're not bound to implement, but they can decide to implement. Okay, but thanks, good observation. So the result of voting for SEN is there is the same disclaimer. You see that in the disclaimer, we also specify that if the voting result is pending, the item is to escalate to the technical board for final decision. And this is the example of a pending, where basically the counting with all members would have approved the EN, and the counting with the blue type members is does not approve because the threshold here is 50%, the threshold is more than 55%, then it goes pending. When it goes pending, as I said, a bell must ring for you because you have very short time. So the TC, relevant TC, is expected to carry out a preliminary assessment of the voting result so that to provide advice to BTs for informed decision. And basically, you have only 2 weeks to make this assessment of the voting result and provide advice to BT for informed decision. If there is no advice, then BT will decide in any case. Then this is the example of so approved by BT decision is the example of what was the final decision at BT level after the pending. So you see, this is pending, and this is then the modified voting report. This approved by BT decision will not change the outcome, the previous outcomes, because of course the outcomes refers to the members' vote, while this refers to the discussion in the ad hoc BT meeting. Then, when I say mandated work, is clear what I refer to? Mandate or the request, which is the let's say that Regulation 1025 has changed the concept of mandate with standard request. But still, when we refer to mandate work, we mean all the technical work that we do under a standard request or a mandate. Okay, and now these, to be fair with you as TBOs, these the way forward for pending was lengthy discussed at by Senate technical boards when they decided for this process, and they were very tight with a timeline. So when there is a pending, the topic has to be preliminarily discussed by the relevant technical committee within 2 weeks. So this is very tight timeline. And then it will escalate to the relevant technical board for 2 weeks. The Sen and Senelec technical boards members want to keep this 2+2 maximum, because since this relates to mandated work, in the standard request, you may have challenging deadline for the delivery of that specific standard. And therefore, in order not to cause a delay, the technical committee is supposed to, let's say, have a preliminary discussion on the topic. Now, it is here it's mentioned a TC advice, so it is not mentioned to have a specific TC decision, of course, because this decision would take too long. Now, the suggestion for the technical body officers is every time you launch a new work item, at the deadline of the 8 weeks, or for Sen, basically for new work item, for at the end of the day, after the 8 weeks. So be ready, be prepared for this scenario, and plan a meeting or a call or other forms of interaction to come an agreement on what to recommend to BT. So try to understand why on that specific work item a pending case has appeared. So pending case, again, it means that several non-blue type approved the work item, while blue type members do not approve it. So what is the reason for this negative vote by blue type members? When scenario 3, so this scenario pending, happens at inquiry, because you know that also at inquiry a vote is associated, then you don't need to go to BT, just do not skip from a vote. So have your discussion in the technical committee, and considering, of course, all national input coming from the national inquiry. So I know this is very challenging. It has been discussed by technical boards. Here we say very exceptional. So far we have no case. Let's hope this will be the case also in future. This will be very challenging for you. I think that an analysis by the TC secretary together with the working group convener and maybe the TC chair is enough. A discussion, try to understand why this standard went pending. So why the non-blue type would approve it and the blue type do not. Now, I have to mention also the case for the technical reports. So in case we have mandated technical report, and it's very, very exceptional. We have very few cases of mandated TR, but this is something that can be requested in a standard request. So we have to cover also this case. Depending can happen twice, scenario 2 and scenario 3. And now you were wondering why. For decision via weighted vote, as I explained before, also the previous edition of IR2 read that in case the first counting fails, decision is taken by blue type members. So it was already there. It was already in higher 2, previous edition. For simple majority, because TR are approved by simple majority, not via weighted vote, there was nothing. There was no indication. So Senate technical boards agreed that the final outcome should be pending in case of any divergency between the vote with all members and blue tie members. So if the first counting with all members would not approve, but the one with the blue tie would approve it, in case of TR, mandated TR, it goes pending. And then, of course, follow the same path as before. TC advice needed, final BT decision. Scenario 3, all members would approve it, blue type no, pending again. Now again, this is even more rare. So I told you before that so far we have not seen any pending scenario for the approval of EN, TS, and HD. So far we have very few mandated TR, I would say a dozen. So we expect not to incur in such case, but for you to know that interregulation part 2 had to embrace also this possibility. Now, still under the responsibility of members and something that can affect you, and it is basically it concerns the approval of new work items, mandate new work items only for SEN, because so far are the SEN technical committees voting on the approving the new work items, while in Senelec and for Sensen JTC are still the technical boards taking a decision. So in the CIB, the committee internal ballot, please ensure that you select correctly the voting criteria. So should be weighted majority for EN, TS, and also that the field with the mandate is not empty. Because if this field is not empty, then the system will understand that this is to be calculated with a mandated criteria, so 6.4, and therefore the result will be given according to the criteria of 6.4. So this is the case, again, of a pending for a CIB, where you can see all members would have approved it, blue tie members do not approve it because it's 50% the final result, and the requirement is 55%, and therefore you need to go again 2 weeks to have an advice, and then you need to go to BT for a final decision that could look like this at the end of the process. Please.
Could you just go back a slide? If you're working under a
You put your microphone?
yes, it is on. If you're working under standardization requests, instead of M145, you would have something like SR155, would you? Yeah, well, yeah. I've only ever seen 2 SRs anyway, standardization requests.
Well, okay, understand. Well, the reality is that the Commission with Delegation 1025 changed the name of mandate into standards request, and also this also has triggered also different some different legal I would say aspects, but has kept the same wording. So the standard requests are M/. Maybe I can go quickly here. So if you go on the eNorm platform of the European Commission, this is where you will find all standard requests and mandates. Okay, this is a publicly available And for instance, you can see we are M/599 and is a standardization request to SEN, so the European Committee for Standardization, as regards lift and safety components. So you see, they kept the same acronym, basically. So it will be always M/something. Okay. And basically, the scenario are the same as for the approval of ENTS at inquiry informal vote, which means that depending for the mandated new work items in SEN may happen only in scenario 3, so all approved. The blue time members would not approve. And then again, you are supposed to come with an advice to the technical boards in order for technical boards to take a final decision. And also, at least in this first year of application, also technical boards wants to have a flavor of what is the impact of this regulation on the way of work. So how many cases do we have? I mean, so far, 0 cases, so which is, I would say, reassuring. Same discussion when approving mandated, so new work items for mandated TR. Again, also in this case, TR is not weighted vote, could be requested under standard request. So in the CIB, indicate M/something. Do not click on weighted vote, of course. And here, by adding the field M/, the system, we understand it's a mandated work, so we'll use the calculation under 6.4. And so these are the possible scenario. But as I said, TR, we have really few TR in all the mandates, valid mandates and standard requests. It's very, 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 please.
Maybe not to this one, but the previous for this one here. Does no indicates that we are lacking on experts if this is a new work item proposal? Because if you no does not really say you can vote yes, but you may not assign experts for this work item. Is no here lacking on experts?
No, it is only the pure calculation of the weighted votes. That is a side consideration that must be done, because of course, if you have only 4 interested members to participate, then you need to find a 5th one. This decision could fail for that reason, but then you could go for a BT derogation to the 5-member rule, basically. So the system takes into account the votes of who voted yes and no. Okay. How is possible here? There is already the answer below. Well, here it was just to reassure you that all these criteria that I explained here, it's not up to you to make this calculation. You will see the outcome. So as long as it is approved, business as usual. When it's pending, then be careful, because an action is expected. So to recap, mandated work means that the work item or new work item is requested under a standard request or covered by a valid mandate. So please assess it before starting your work. Be sure that the work item is correctly marked as such in the database. You will see it in projects online. If not, inform your CCMC PM that will correct. Because of course, depending on it is mandated or mandated, the algorithm making the calculation of the vote will change. For decision, yes, please.
And the secretary who fills his data in project, the secretary of the TC who fills the mandate.
but can have always also the cooperation of CCM-CPM. For instance, in the new standard show mandate, the list of requested now with the approach of the Commission from 2018, you have in Annex 1 of the request the list of the work items. So also, I mean, this information can be also spotted by CCMC or any other expert that would then refer to the TC secretary. So for decision launched as of 9 July 2023, the new approval criteria for mandated work apply and may affect the approval of deliverables. TC may need to provide advice in 2 weeks to technical boards if outcome is pending. You don't need to interpret the voting result will be in line with the relevant clause of IR 2. Nothing changes in the voting results for non-mandated work, but counting of blue type members' votes will be always displayed. So for non-mandated work, so if your work item is not under a standard request or a valid mandate, in any case, from 9 July, you will always find on the voting report also the result for the blue type members. But the result, the voting result, so what you can see as final outcome of the voting is calculated according to non-mandated work. So it's correct. It is, as I explained before, it is a safety net to have always displayed also the counting with blue type members, because if that work item was incorrectly marked as non-mandated and then you realize it was mandated, at least you can easily find back what was the voting with the blue type members. Okay, so here you can find all what I said. We create on Senelec Boss a specific page, and also there are the usual manual for the e-voting tool for Senelec, where you can find all the possible scenario and what to do. And the same goes for Sen, where of course you at the moment you have the CIB for the new work item approval and the outcome for the balloting when voting on at inquiry informal vote. In Senelec, we will update this part when we will launch, in theory, 1st of February, but as I said, maybe it will be 1st of March, the delegated, the Senelec delegated the new work item approval. Okay, so I don't know if colleagues, so do you have other questions on this? Please.
It's not directly on your presentation, but in this has been the part about mandated work and the yellow and red members not counting in the votes. But how does it work in a plenary meeting where they are in delegated mode and you are discussing, for example, a harmonized standard, and there's significant pushback from a yellow or red country? Should you spend hours on resolving that, or should you just observe that we have pushback from a yellow and a red country, and we note that, but since you're not counted as a significant vote in the final vote, we will not spend more time on discussing this, or how should you do it in a practical reality in a plenary meeting or other situations?
But in the plenary meeting, what kind of decision would you take?
It will go for a vote, so no, you will not take a decision, but still you can spend a lot of time discussing with countries with which in the final end will not have a significant voice. For example, like the Annex 3 organizations, where normally you just record that they have note their opinion, but you might not, they don't have a vote at the final end. So would you have, as a chair, when you manage the meetings, to respect these countries in the same way as a partner organization, or should you respect them as a blue member? It has a practical consequence, but because you can end up spending a lot of time on these meetings, which have limited time, let's say 8 hours, and you spend 2 hours on discussing with yellow and blue red countries, you are in some way wasting blue countries' time. You could have that.
Frankly speaking, I cannot tell you to behave differently. It has never been the case in the BT Working Group 14, a rules and process that prepare all these. In those discussions, the main, I would say, rationale was to treat all CENSANEC members in the same way. So only when it comes to a formal decision, then we are going to apply this. Regarding Annex 3, of course, they are observers, not members. And yesterday you heard that it is we have a unique system because our standards can count on the input from societal stakeholders, and therefore they have a value which is higher than another place where it can be strictly only industry driven. So I understand that for artificial intelligence, also Annex 3, like ANEC consumers, they can be very strong in putting forward their ideas and proposals, but they have to be considered. Okay, so I think maybe if Cristina Alessia, okay, then we close this session and yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for organizing the session. I have a question about standardization requests and harmonized standards. There was a recent presentation from a project manager from CCMC, which caused some confusion amongst my experts about whether standardization requests always lead to harmonized standards, because we are actually in a project under a standardization request, but the standards are not harmonized. And there's a lot of confusion about the definition of harmonized standards in the regulation 1025/2012. So could you maybe elaborate on that? Thank you.
Tell me what was the two theories on the table. At least only two, I hope.
Yeah, so one theory, which was the theory that I supported, or at least I thought was the truth, is that standardization requests do not always lead to harmonized standards. So standard published under a standardization request is not necessarily a harmonized standard, because in order for it to be harmonized, it needs to be cited in the OJ, and you need a HAS consultant, you know, to go through that process with. So it doesn't need to be, I would say, fulfilling a specific goal in legislation, although the standardization request might come forth out of legislation. And then the second theory is that all standards developed under a standardization request are in fact harmonized.
Me to share your thought, your theory. So let's go on 1025, Regulation 1025, Article 2 definition.
Yes,
Where
it's
there are two
2.1c. Yeah.
So the two elements are there. But I can tell you this is not, it's a kind of philosophical doubt that is present also in some commission officers. So let's go to the definition of European standard and harmonized standard. So those claiming, supporting the second theory, I would say that harmonized standards is a European standard adopted on the basis of a request. So of a standardization request. So if you have a standard request, you have harmonized standard. In reality, there is a second element, is for the application of union harmonization legislation. De facto, this difference, so harmonized standard should be linked to the implementation of harmonization legislation, which normally we should have a cited standards in the official journal. So harmonized standards should lead to a cited standard. cited standard in the way we are aware of what is a citation, so which means a list of titles, so standards reference, titles, and the year in the L part of the official journal. In reality, it could be also within, could be inserted within a legislation itself. But there is a good way to understand whether the standards are harmonized standards or not. For instance, by looking at Article 1 of the standards request. So let's open, for instance, cable installation. So mandate 597. So you know very well that now M/597, this code has been kept also for standards request. And we go in the main document rather than in the annexes. I don't know if you can see from there. Small. So, Commission implementing decision. Then you have a lot of recitals, very important. Then you have the Article 1. European Committee for Standardization requests to revise existing harmonized standards. So you see already the Commission define harmonized standards correctly in this request. So what you develop are harmonized standards. If we go, for instance, to now by memory, I think that industrial emission is not voila. So Commission plan M588 on essential request to the European Committee for SEN regard methods for the measurement of emissions. So when you have methods, test methods, normally can start having some doubt whether this will be harmonized standards, because the recent approach of the Commission is that there should be requirements in it, and these are the industrial emission. Please do not make me read the title. And if I open this mandate, we go in Article 1. European Committee for Standardization is requested to draft new European standard. You see, they do not request harmonized standards, but they request European standards. So it is exactly then your theory that I share, that harmonized standard, not all what is requested in a standardization request is necessarily an harmonized standard. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I go by memory, I think also batteries, the first request of batteries, where the 579 that are based not on a legislation NLF yet, but on an action plan. If I'm not mistaken, also batteries, since there is not this presumption on conformity yet, it will be the case that the European regulation will come into force. Also, battery should be new European standards. I don't know if you can see it. You see, also in case of batteries, because there is no legislation with essential requirements, so a classical NLF. This is based on a policy, a piece of policy, but it's still a standard request, and that's why we develop European standards and not harmonized standards.
Okay, so to confirm, if you want to check whether the standardization request requires harmonized or not harmonized standards, you can check Article 1. And in general, it's not necessarily the case that all standardization requests lead to harmonized standards, nor do we call all standards developed under a standardization request harmonized standards. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Maybe I have a remark to maybe I'm wrong, but from my experience, all the standards belongs to the methodology and how you go to make a measurement or to quantify something. After, the levels are left to the place where the standard is applied. That's what I have from the field, the regulations and the field experience we have.
It's a statement. I don't.
I just want to be sure that that's the way everybody understand that, because when we define something, we define a methodology. We are not going, because of course the levels can change, but what we as specialists of something, we define how to make, not the levels, and acceptable levels are then discussed at state level or where you apply the standard.
I understand what you mean. Yes, it's not a standardizer task to define the level or the final goal. This is the legislator has to fix it.